This is funny.
Indeed.
Welcome to Film Stache, a show that shows you how to do all the really cool, classy effects that you might or may not see in Hollywood. You do. They're all over there. So today we're going to show you how to composite a really cool muzzle flash into a scene that you filmed and shot with your... We'll be using After Effects to accomplish this. I'm also going to be using Andrew Kramer's muzzle flashes from his Action Essentials, but you can use other things. You can use the masks in After Effects to just mask out a little bright area. But I'll show you how to do that. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay,
Yes, we shall.
let's.
That way direction.
Hi, everybody. I'm Strider from Film Stache again. You saw me 5 minutes ago, but I changed. Okay, again, I'm gonna show you some stuff. So let's open After Effects right now. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Opening. Open in After Effects. So we have After Effects open. The first thing that you want to do is import the project file that you hopefully downloaded from the link in the video description. So I'm just going to import all of my assets real quick. So let's just make a new composition by dropping R6 into the new composition. And here we go. I preview this real fast. We have the lovely Aiden Zerez. He's a wonderful filmmaker shooting a shotgun into my face. I think it's symbolism, actually, for Chroniker Productions shooting my production studio in the face. I'm pretty sure that's what this... So, what we're going to do first is do a muzzle flash. Now, in the original, I used one of Andrew Kramer's muzzle flashes in Action Essentials, and it's pretty expensive, and I spent a lot for it. So if you don't have that kind of money, and you don't have Andrew Kramer's muzzle flashes, that's okay. Something I found online, actually, if you just go online and type in free muzzle flashes, and you go to, yep, here it is, footage create. I'm going to add this into the link, but if you go here, there's a bunch of muzzle flashes, and if you click them, they'll give you a little, like, preview of what it is, and I downloaded Muzzle Flash 3 front to use for this tutorial. These are all free, by the way, so check it out. It's super awesome. Props to Footage Create for this amazing free stock footage. It's pretty freaking rad. So going back to After Effects, take the that flash and drop it into your composition. Now here it is. It's not very big. I would scale it up a little bit. Then I would also go to Effects, Sharpen, just Sharpen. And the reason I'm doing this is because every time you blow up an image, it gets grainier because it's a rasterized image essentially. Everything except for text and some other funky stuff in After Effects is rasterized. So the bigger they make this, the more I sharpen it. I don't try to sharpen this too much or make it too big, and the reason why is because it starts just getting grainy and blurry on the edges, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. There's still some weird anti-aliasing going on here, but that's okay. Select my ellipse tool and double-click it so it makes a complete circle around our image. I'm going to go into the mask properties and feather it out. First thing I'm going to do is go to -15, and the reason why is because whenever I feather things, it tends to have this really weird effect where of course it still shows the borders at the top and the bottom. So I like to make it negative, and I'm trying to get rid of this kind of sharp line right here, and I might just get my pen tool and add another one for this extra edge that they created in the footage itself. Go to my mask options by pressing M. If you press M twice, it shows you all the information. If you go click it, press M once, it just shows you the mask shape. That's fine. So I clicked subtract, and I'm also going to feather this so it's not horribly obscene. And I'm also going to solo it to see what I got. Let's bring this down to half so my computer doesn't crash. Let's put mask 3 before mask 2. Okay, that's what it was. That's weird. Okay, so apparently your overall mask that hides the edges has to be before mask 2. You know, the more you know, right? So set that to 40. And then I'm going to subtract the mask a little bit, maybe feather it out a bit more to make it more realistic, maybe make it negative 25, and make it 55 for my feather. And now if I hit play, as you can see, there's a nice like explosion, and we got some smoke here. I'm also going to bring my sharpen amount down to 20. Now, this is all about playing around. This is a simple effect, but you should always play around with it. So, sweet. So we have that. I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to turn off the muzzle flash, which I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard and actually type in muzzle flash 01, just so I have a reference. And then my 06, I'm going to say is main footage. Okay, cool. I turned the muzzle flash off because I want to see when my actor reacts, and it's about here. I'm going to drag this to the frame before, because this is where our shot goes off. Turn it on, and then I'm just going to line up my shot kind of with the gun barrel. Now, you can do this any way you want. You can click the rotate tool and rotate it if you so choose. I think this is okay. I'll move it here, and I'm going to hit P for position. And I'm going to hit the stopwatch, hit the stopwatch to make a keyframe. And the reason I do this is because his gun is moving. Most people have this problem that they will like leave it there and that's all they needed to do. The problem with this technique is that it's very unrealistic. Yes, this is basic compositing, but what you want to do is you want to move this flare up to where he moves the gun. Next frame, the gun kind of goes up here, and it goes up here. And so I'm just going to kind of, for those frames, match. Yeah, I'm going to match it. And unfortunately, it's a little early. That's okay. What we can do is we can move this over, and we don't have to erase our keyframes and start over. We can box select them or border select them and drag them this way. And so the information stays the same, which is really cool. You know, I might move it a little bit for emphasis. And then I might get rid of this last keyframe. Yeah, there it is. And so he's like, "Gaga! I shot you." Wait a minute. Alright, cool. So he shoots. Awesome. Yay, we're done. Just kidding. You can see the time indicator. We're not done yet. Something I'm going to do with the mode is I'm going to change this mode to a screen. And what screen will do is it's going to make it brighter. Oh, look at that. Essentially, it's an additive function. In the RGB scale, there's subtractive and there's additive. Multiply is all saying, I just want the dark to be seen. So darken, multiply, color burn, classic color burn, linear burn, darken burn. That's all just showing the dark parts. It's essentially making it's matting out everything that's bright. Now add, lighten screen, color dodge, color, classic dodge, etc., etc. This is all matting out everything that's dark. So it's making the dark areas alpha. That's more realistic for fire. Fire is an additive thing. It makes things bright in pictures. So this will be a lot more realistic. So that's kind of cool. So it's like, gaga! Sweet. So essentially, that's it. That's how you make a muzzle flash. Now, something that's really cool, if you have Andrew Kramer's, Action Essentials, he has some shells, and you can actually go in and add a shell popping out of this if you want to. In fact, I can show you how to do that real quick, because, why the heck not? So what we're going to do is layer, new, solid, and we're going to call it the shotgun shell. Now, I just know how the shotgun shell looks, but if you don't, get some references. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this kind of a gold color, a bronzy gold color, like this, and that's fine. And then I'm going to actually use, my rectangle tool at the bottom, sweet. Make another rectangle tool at the top. Alright, awesome. Gonna center this up here. Sweet. I'm going to hit align and align this to the center. Solo it real fast. Layer, new, solid. I'm going to make this red because shotgun shells, haha, have this really weird red tip to it. Let's make it a little darker red for emphasis. Awesome. I'm gonna hide it real fast so I can do something like this. I'm gonna make another box about here. Now this is not very realistic, but the shotgun shell is going to be moving so fast, no one's gonna be able to tell. So we have our really done shotgun shell. Now select our solids, say layer pre-compose. We're gonna call this shotgun shell basic. So pre-composed both of them. Awesome. Okay, there it is. Let's solo this again, and I'm gonna go to perspective and add in, let's say, a bevel alpha, and I'm gonna turn up the thickness to a lot. Let me change the color to kind of a gold. So actually, what happens if I turn it? Light intensity. I'm not gonna make the light intensity too high. Let's make it 0.3. I'm just adding in this extra detail, so if someone kind of sees this, they're going to think it's a shotgun shell. So something else that we're going to do is go to generate and add in a light sweep. And this is a really cool effect. I use it a lot for making text look cool and logos look like they're more metallic. And surprise, I'm going to do the exact same thing here. So I'm going to play with the direction first and the center. I'm also going to make the width a lot bigger because this is a very small shell. I'm going to make the intensity 35. I'm going to change the color to, again, that same kind of brownish, orangish, bronze color. Just to simulate it, you know, looking more like metal. So what we're going to do is unsolo this and scale it down a lot. I'm not actually even going to make it longer because that's about the width of a shotgun shell. I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to scale it down. Okay, that's about good. That's about as big as a shotgun shell is going to be. Alright, so let's turn off our muzzle flash real fast. And we know our muzzle flash starts here. So the first thing I'm going to do is rotate this to kind of mimic the direction the gun is facing. Okay, cool. And I'm going to hit my bracket key to make this snap with the playhead. I'm going to go to position, key that, hit shift rotation to bring them both up, hit the stopwatch to keyframe this, and then I'm going to move a couple of frames, let's say to here, and I'm going to push this entire thing out of screen down here. Awesome. Cool. My rotation, I'm going to add a 2 after it. Actually, I'm just going to add a 1. There's not a lot of time to make it 2, so let's add it. So, as we can see, boop, it pops out. Really horrible, and it does not look very realistic. That's okay, we're not done. Go somewhere in between your keyframes, like the halfway mark, and obviously I don't have a halfway mark, so I'm going to actually make the animation a little bit longer. There's my halfway, and I'm just eyeballing this, and I'm going to move the shotgun shell up a little bit. Now, something that you can notice is that you get these weird like handles on the side, like you would using the pen tool. Well, you can also control them using the pen tool. So I'm going to select the pen tool, and with that selected, I can now grab these handles and make it more of a bump. So now if we see this animation, it kind of just flies out. Awesome. I'm actually going to make this arc a little bit wider because I heard that shotguns have a pretty high shell casing ejection rate. That is the professional name. Tell your friends. Now again, what you want to do is just make sure that this looks as realistic as possible. Something I don't like is that it's rotating actually too quickly. So I'm going to delete my rotation down here, and I'm going to go to this last frame, and I'm just going to rotate it by hand a little bit, not a lot, but I just want it to pop out. Boop, just like that. Okay, perfect. So it popped out. Now something I'm going to do is darken it because it's against a window. So obviously it's got some backlighting to it. So we're going to make this pretty dark, actually. I'm also going to do some color correction because it looks way more yellow. So I'm going to get my curves. I'm going to move the curves down here. Alright, cool. Curves is the best. And so what I got here is I'm actually making the lights dark. So it's obviously backlit now, but it's not getting the right colors that I want. I want more muted colors. So I'm going to go to Effects, Color Correction, Hue and Saturation. I'm going to bump my hue down a bit. Not too much, maybe at -40. I'm going to add another curves adjustment, just so I can have more power over this blue and yellow that I'm looking at. I might do a contrast curve like that, just to get maybe some blues back into those dark areas. I'm kind of looking at the gun and trying to see if I can match this in any way. Go to my hue, maybe change this to -20. Again, just play around with this until you like it, and I like this, so I'm going to keep it. Next thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to add a blur to it. I'm going to add a camera lens blur, and this can slow down your computer, so just be warned. And I'm also going to I'm going to make this blur into 20. Say 20 blur. No, a little higher. 40? Okay, there we go. And now it starts looking to be the same grain, or same blurriness, as the shotgun. Maybe turn it down to 35. Again, all of this is playing with these values and making it just look as realistic as possible. The next thing I'm going to do is go to my noise and just add a noise. And maybe add it to be 10%, 40%, 45% maybe? Okay, there it is. I can kind of start seeing the grain. Just so you guys can see it, I might put it to 70, just so you can see that we do have grain on here. And you want to match the grain on here, so the higher this is, the more grain there is. And believe it or not, even with my really cool DSLR, it is a DSLR and it is not grain proof. So, you want to make this, again, as realistic as possible. Once you have added everything and everything is there, I'm going to turn on the motion blur button and the motion blur for my comp. And as you can see, this very quickly just becomes a streak. We did a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it just becomes a streak. That's why I wasn't worried that it was very unrealistic, because once it shoots out of there, it just looks like a flying blur. But people know that it's a shotgun shell, and that's very important. Now, as you can see, the shotgun shell is in front of the gun. I'm not going to deal with this, and the reason why is because if we turn on our muzzle flash and put the shotgun shell below the muzzle flash, no one can see it. And by the time the muzzle flash is done, the shotgun shell is already over here. So as we can see, yeah, it's right there. Awesome. So the last thing we want to do is just add some cool color correction. So I'm going to add an adjustment layer. I'm going to call this adjustment layer CC main, as in my main color correction. Click my composition. I'm going to go to curves. Let's maybe add in this really cool color correction to make everything blue and yellow. Look at that. Color correction, no color correction. Or color correction, no color correction. Okay, cool. I'm also going to add a vignette, or vignette. I call it a vignette. Yes, I'm a nerd. So let's go down here, adjustment layer. I call it Vin for short because I can't spell. Now with your Vin selected, go to the ellipse tool, double click, effects, color correction, curves. If you haven't figured it out already, curves is awesome. So I'm going to again drop my whites down. I'm going to drop contrast curve down. I'm actually going to make a heavy contrast here between lights and darks. And I'm going to go into my mask channel. And instead of add, I'm going to click subtract. So now it's only on these edges. If I click F with the Vin selected, I get mask feather. It's the shortcut. F is the shortcut. And I'm going to change this to maybe like 300. And the reason why is I really want to blend in to my scene overall. And it does. So no Vin, Vin. No Vin, Vin. And yay. It's French or something. Okay, cool. One thing I'm actually also going to add is, like, if I click RAM Preview, you can barely see the muzzle flash in this image going off. It kind of just skips it almost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this muzzle flash real fast. I'm going to duplicate it. So the shortcut with this on a Mac is Command D. I'm going to go over to this first frame, and I'm going to click Time, Freeze Frame. And so now this entire frame is just one giant, well, this frame of the muzzle flash, and that would be kind of ridiculous. So I'm gonna go to hit P on this, my muzzle flash 2, and I'm gonna unkey the position. I'm gonna parent my muzzle flash 2 to my muzzle flash 1, and the reason why is if I move my muzzle flash 1, it will move this as well. Now I'm gonna hit Command and hit my arrow key back. I'm gonna move this back 1 frame, and I'm going to delete it. And I'm not going to worry about placement because luckily if you hit U, which is the shortcut to bring up all keyframes, you can see that my position, I still had position information last time, so that's why I parented this to this, because it's going to follow that information no matter what I do. So with that said, let's RAM preview this and see how it looks now. Yeah, so you can see that flare, that muzzle flash, much better now, and that's what we wanted. And what I'm gonna do, and this is optional, is I'm gonna add a new solid. I'm gonna call it flare, and I'm gonna make it black, and I'm gonna put it under my VIN and my main color correction, and I'm gonna go to Video Copilot, optical flares. Now again, if you don't have optical flares, it's okay. This part is totally optional, but I would suggest getting optical flares because it's freaking rad. It's a really cool flare creating system. I think Andrew Kramer made it specifically for J.J. Abrams because J.J. Abrams, you know, he loves his lens flares. All kidding aside, I love J.J. Abrams and his movies, and I also love lens flares because that's why I'm using this. So let's just make it yellow, and I'm going to set this flare to screen. And I'm going to add, put this down here, and now you have this like little flare coming out, and I actually might blur it out. So add a flash blur to this, and maybe make it to 5, not crazy, but I just want to blur it out slightly, maybe 3.5. Okay, there we go. I'm going to close that. I'm going to keyframe my position, hit U to bring up my keyframes, go over one, and I'm just going to make sure that this is on the gun, go over again, and just make sure that this flare is where it needs to be. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a keyframe for the brightness right here, so hit U again, so it closes everything, hit U, oh, there's my keyframe. On my Mac, I'm using a MacBook Pro, so I'm going to hit F9, F9 to make this as an easy ease keyframe. I'm going to then, with my brightness, set my brightness to 0, command click to make that into a little point, or a little just a normal keyframe, and I'm going to press command C, command V to copy that keyframe over here. So now as we can see, as he shoots, you see this like flare come out from the muzzle flash. God! Now again, this is completely optional, and you can always play around with this and make it less obvious. Okay, one more thing we do not want to forget to do is add some brightness. Something I realized was right here there should be some light on Aiden's hand and light on his face from the flash of the gun. So let's add an adjustment layer and call this skin brighten smiley face. Yeah, let's leave it. Alright, so I'm going to add this, we're going to put this below my flare and below, or above my muzzle flash 2. Actually, I'm going to put below everything but the shotgun layer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the pen tool, and I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to turn off all of this stuff so I'm not distracted, and I'm going to just make a quick garbage matte or mask kind of around the areas where I feel like his hand would become brighter. By pressing M, click mask path, and I'm gonna go to his face and do kind of the same thing. I'm gonna brighten up this area of his face because this is where light would hit it. Add a bridge for the nose. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna hit M again. And I'm gonna click mask path for that as well. Now, these masks don't have to be perfect because they're only here for a small time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to color correction, curves. I'm just gonna brighten up these areas I'm going to brighten that up. I'm going to make it seem a little bit more yellow. Maybe add some red up in here. Yeah, make some orange. Now if I hit F, I can start feathering these. I'm going to feather this pretty shallowly, the hand one. I'm going to maybe make it 25. Again, that's pretty shallow, and that's okay for me. Actually, 32.5. Perfect. Now for the face, I'm going to do it a lot more. I'm going to do like 55, and the reason why is because the brightness on his face should be calmer, less distinct than the one on his hand because it's happening farther away. So maybe 75. Alright, cool. And now I'm going to take this and make it screen, which will just make it way brighter. Maybe, okay, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to darken this a little bit. Now select this to screen. There's a small change. It's okay. It's kind of important. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with my skin brighten selected, I'm going to press M to bring up my masks so I can look at the keyframes, and I'm going to shift 1 forward, and all I'm going to do is kind of double click my first mask and move it to where it needs to be. It automatically creates a keyframe. Same for my second mask. I'm just kind of bump it over, maybe change it a little bit, and I'm not paying attention much to, again, making it seem like it will perfectly line up with the hand, because this effect happens so quickly most people do not catch it, but it adds it adds an amazing step of detail to your work, and I really only need these for 3 frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn everything else on. Yay. I'm going to press Command-Shift-D if you're on a Mac to split the skin bright in half. I'm going to keep screen bright 2. I'm going to not keep the first one. Alright, let's change this back into screen brighten. So, it's off, it's on. Now I'm going to hit T for opacity. Click on my stopwatch to create a keyframe. Go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn it off. Actually, I'm going to move this up. At this frame, it's off. I'm going to select my motion blur for that layer. I'm also going to go to my muzzle flashes and add motion blur for that as well. And now if we play it back, we just get some added detail. When he shoots off the gun, blah, you can see there's this little bright spot that happens. It's a little strong for me, so I'm going to actually just go into the opacity here and change it from 100% to 75%, just to lessen it, maybe 65%. Alright, there we go. And there's Aiden Zerez shooting his shotgun into people. Now, play around with it. Do what you like. See, I played around with it and changed the correction, and if you do so, yeah, look at that. You got a futuristic gun right there. Paka! 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 That's my future sounds. They sound really good. Wait a minute. Check this out. See, didn't that one sound good? That one sounded good, right?
Welcome back. I'm glad that you learned now how to shoot your friends in, your films using After Effects. So, I want to make sure that you guys have fun. Go out there and please try your hand at this tutorial. If you do, post it on a Facebook page, because a Facebook page is cool.
So cool.
It's so cool. And subscribe, like this channel.
I love art.
We do love art. Yeah, do that. Alright, well, all of you people have a wonderful day, and don't get shot by...
I know I'm but a chambermaid within a grand hotel, but nothing of me none have got in that place to dwell. Experience has been my teacher till the day I die. So anything you hear about me, you know it's a lie. The nearest thing to scandal that near blighted my